So good morning to our lovely 6 attendees. We are in one of the Legal Tech Week of Events talks hosted by the Legal Innovation Lab Wales, where I am not quite sat. So we're going to talk today about the Include Journey application which we've built, and specifically addressing the topic of how can apps be used to support desistance from crime and improve well-being. So I'm going to introduce Gemma Morgan and Mel Berry, who are very kindly coming along today. And Mel is going to start the introduction with the presentation.
Me. Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Mel, I'm Director of Include Hub. We're a third sector organisation, so psychologically informed and trauma responsive. So we work not exclusively, but predominantly with those individuals who've had engagements or at risk of entering the criminal justice system. We support them at any part of their journey. So we call it from a crisis point, which might be surviving, to thriving. So offering opportunities to get into education, employment, and training. We also have an additional project under Include, which is a women's only project. So that's called the Whole Systems Approach, a Women's Pathfinder project. And again, the purpose of that is instead of women entering the criminal justice system, we try to support them holistically about what are the root causes to their behaviours. So instead of them entering that system, we can look at how they can go on their healing journey with more intense support. I've worked with Gemma over the university for many years with different elements of support with Include, and Phil I've had the great pleasure of building that relationship with over the last few months, and something that I certainly will be talking about when we talk about the collaboration is the importance of those relationships with the members that we walk alongside, and also that relationship with both Gemma and Phil in terms of developing solutions together. This is an app that we're really excited about because there's nothing like this out in our sector. So I'm looking forward to speaking about it with all of you guys in a bit. Jem?
Lovely. So welcome everybody. I'm Dr Gemma Morgan. I'm a lecturer in criminology at Swansea University. My research predominantly focuses on examining desistance, or what others may refer to as offender rehabilitation. So I'm particularly interested in looking at how organisations implement the theory and evidence base of desistance and what works offender rehabilitation and the barriers for this. What I'm looking at now is actually how we can use digital technologies to support desistance-orientated work and improve people's well-being and sense of community. So this is kind of where the idea for the app came from. And again, as Mel has said, that's what we're excited to talk about today, how we've developed this My Journey platform and how we can see it helping people to desist from crime and improve their well-being. So just to give a little bit of context about the project and kind of why and how it's emerged. So some kind of sobering figures really to provide the kind of the state of play of the criminal justice system at the moment. So since 1990, unfortunately, the prison population has increased by about 84%. So we have over 80,000 people incarcerated. So it's estimated by 2026 that this will actually reach 100,000 people. We know the cost of prison, or the known costs, are again extremely expensive. So for one prisoner per year, this is around about £44,000. Again, massive amount of money here. And also, when people leave prison, the majority will actually go on to reoffend. So depending on what sentence they receive, between 48 and 63 people will go on to reoffend. And the economic and social cost of this, again, is staggering. We're talking billions and billions of pounds. So we all like a challenge, and this is one of the challenges we're trying to kind of help or resolve or mitigate through this application. So this has kind of been termed the penal crisis for the last decade or so. It's not really a crisis because a crisis is temporal. This is just an ongoing problem with the criminal justice system. So this kind of falls into the problem of, how do we solve this? What are the issues? So the idea for the app initially came from some previous research that I'd done. So I'd gone into a number of criminal justice organisations to look at how well they were aligned to the evidence base of shows, you know, what actually works to help people to stop reoffending. And some of the issues kind of I observed and I encountered in these organisations, there were quite a few really. The systems that they were using to kind of assess the needs of the people that they were supporting and inputting data and sharing data was really clunky. It wasn't easy to use. Information often wasn't communicated effectively with other organisations. Sometimes the outcomes of the risk and needs assessments weren't being implemented appropriately into practice to really support people. So, you know, those were some initial issues. As well, we put COVID on top of this. We have seen organisations being temporarily closed or access to support being reduced. And this is only going to heighten the vulnerabilities of people who really need that support. So what it really drew into attention for me was that there was limited digital innovation in terms of desistance-orientated work. And when I looked for solutions, you know, to help with this, there was nothing really on the market. So that's where I had kind of that light bulb moment. Well, if there's nothing out there, let's create something, let's build something. But I did have a further problem. I'm not a software developer, so me trying to build something would have been an epic fail. I could have started perhaps, you know, building something with Phil alone, but for me, we have to get the people around the table who are going to use these platforms. And that's why straight away I was like, right, I've got to speak to Include. As Mel said, we've worked together for a number of years. They were 100% on board on the project. They're very forward thinking, and it was the perfect collaboration for me. So we needed to also think about some other issues, digital inclusion being one of them. So again, thinking about the population, you know, are they going to have access to smartphones, particularly people who are just coming out of prison? You know, we need to be thinking about addressing their immediate basic needs. So perhaps they might not have the money to afford a smartphone. They might not have the money to pay for broadband. So we needed to think about how they were going to access this platform. So we immediately said, right, a web page would be more suitable because they can use it on smartphones if they've got it, but also on free computer access within Include and other public spaces. Accessibility was a big thing for us to consider as well. So in general, people who have offended, their literacy levels are below the kind of national average. So we needed to think of something that wasn't too wordy, but was quite visual, and again, really straightforward and simple to use. So that really brings us on to the solution. So we've identified all of these issues that we need to address and thought, right, an application, digital tech can do this. And the solution was, from my perspective and our perspective, is bringing key stakeholders together to address this and working together so we can generally produce something that is co-produced, user-friendly and fit for purpose. And Mel will now talk to you a little bit more about the solution and how we brought it together.
So it was really interesting because at the same time that I guess in terms of looking at problem and solution, that Jem was thinking about all of these different problems and challenges that she had seen. Now during COVID, whilst every organisation shut, I happened to stay open. So furloughed my team, but stayed open because without any organisation being open, you know, how were our community family supposed to get any support? So if you've just come out of prison or you're a woman and you've been resettled back in Wales, where do you go? You don't even understand what the COVID information is. How do you get housing? How do you get any form of support? So for me, it was really interesting because throughout the COVID, you know, being in place, I've walked alongside all of our members and at the same time was thinking, well, how do we ensure that if we go into another crisis, if we go into another COVID situation, how am I going to access the members? What problems are they facing? Whilst everyone was going into this digital landscape and finding it really easy, our members didn't have that choice. So for me, it was really important to look and sit and talk and discuss with the members what those challenges were, and actually the challenges that digital inclusion does bring to them. But at the same time, something that was really important, it would be very easy for us to sit here and go, well, you know, they do have these literacy challenges. They don't have accessibility to the digital world. So actually, why should we bother? But one thing that was really important, not simply by us, but by those that I walk alongside, is that we don't want to leave people behind. The digital era was coming. Through COVID, what that did do is accelerate the rate at which that has become part and parcel of daily life. For us, it's like a basic human need to have accessibility to the digital world. So for us, it was really important that we can take our members on that digital journey. The solution, you'll hear me say that we're looking at developing this solution, and we did together. And that means taking those who are actually going to use the platform, because it's about this knowledge exchange. So whilst Phil, Gem, and I sit here having expertise in our different areas, we've got the expertise of those with the lived experience who on a day-to-day basis are the ones that will be accessing this prototype, the platform and the app. So for us, it was about looking at the design and the delivery by including them. So by us having the original idea, and then Phil and his team with their magic, honestly, I sit there and you know, each week we're like, oh my God, look at what Phil and his team have done. And then we would take it to the members. I would take it to the members and go, oh, is this going to work for you? What is it that didn't work or would help you use digital more? And we took that to my members here, and we would take it back. We would look at what a prototype would look like, and we would keep going back and forth, and we will continue to do that. You know, communication, being able to assess someone's well-being so they don't fall off that edge. So before they get there, you'll see when Phil gives you a brilliant demonstration, the importance of that well-being metrics. Also, the other side of that is, Gem alluded to it earlier, about the communication between organisations, about individuals having to repeat their challenges, go through assessment after assessment. So we've also made sure that we've spoken with external organisations, statutory and those within the third sector, that may well use or have access to this platform. Because again, we've got the needs of the individuals, the members that we walk alongside, which is hugely important, but also what is it as organisations, is it that we need that's going to really help us and actually show us patterns? And actually, again, as I continue to say, that instead of people falling through a gap and falling through a net, which means that they will go back into the reoffending cycle, how do we catch them, support them and hold space for them before that happens? So it's been really nice that we've been able to get this collective approach, most importantly, with those members that we walk alongside and will be using it, but also with those other agencies and organisations, which actually this is going to make our system, as Jem said, instead of being clunky and even looking clunky, actually making it more accessible and relatable and also much more time efficient. So instead of us having conversations continuously, then actually we can all access a system where it can give us this up-to-date information there and then. And that is what the digital, I guess, landscape is going to bring with us, and where it is changing the way that the criminal justice system has to look at the way in which it works. So, as I said, the solutions came from the people who are actually going to use it. And I think Phil is going to show us a great demo of what it looks like.
Yep.
Yeah. So while Phil's loading the demo up, as Mel said, one of the key things that we wanted to include in this platform was a space where members could do their own self-assessment of their needs. Because as we mentioned, one of the main reasons why people will go on to reoffend is their needs are not being met. So what Phil will show you in the platform is this, as I said, a self-assessment where they can kind of rank their needs. And what that really does is put accountability onto the service providers to make sure that they are viewing those assessments and responding to those needs. And that's one of the ways which we're hoping this app will really be able to support people to make those positive changes. And there's a few other things in there as well that will help with that journey, but I'll keep you in suspense while Phil gets that loaded.
Cool. So this should all be working now. So when a member goes to the URL of the site, whether it be on their phone or on their desktop computer or wherever they can get access to the internet, that might be in the Include Hub. This is the first page. We've got a normal login, and this is their journey dashboard. So there's a few sections in here which haven't been implemented yet because it is a prototype. And it's worth noting at this point, this is a demo version. There's a lot of data in here. It's all completely fabricated. If you're particularly eagle-eyed, you might spot some Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quotes, which we've used for fake data and a whole host of other things. So this is the main area. And we can see that they've got 9 sections here, which are the core areas that Mel and Gemma and the members feel are most important to them. Then at the top, we've got an SOS button, somewhere where they can edit their profile, and a guide so they can find more information. And I'll just click into the guide quickly. So you can see it mirrors the dashboard, but we've got a visually different section, and the accessibility sort of labels behind everything are different as well. So it's quite clear that when they're in the guide, and then they can go, if they're in a particular guide section, they can then just go straight back to the home page, and they know it's gone back to yellow, they're back in the main version. So I'll just run through quickly each of these main functions. So we've got a journal function, which easily encourages members to add new members, add new journal entries. They can write whatever they want. And then we can select how we're feeling today. It's nice and sunny and I'm giving a lovely talk, so it's a party day, and hit submit. Then one of the key things is all of these features are down to the member to use how they want. So here we've got our 3 team members who are signed up on the account, and in the production app, this will be all of includes volunteers and team members. And we can select, say, I don't like Phil, I'm not going to share this with him. I don't want him to read this journal. I don't want to share that this way. Mel and Gemma, they're all right though. We can also do select none, select all, and then we can click share, and then we can edit these permissions and see that it's only shared with Mel and Gemma. Phil can't see this one, and they can do this for all of these different journal entries, so they can go back if there's a new team member they want to share something with, they can do it that way. And I'll show how this looks on the team member side later on. So fairly simple journal entry. They can see their history, see how many they've done. Fairly straightforward there. So as you can see, when we click in here as well, we've got quick links to all of these same 9 buttons at the top. So they can quickly jump from here to appointments. So this is designed to be slightly different from a normal calendar diary or anything like that. One of the key things that Mel brought out was that a lot of the Include members' lives are less structured necessarily than what we're used to or what I'm used to when I'm building something. So it's not done as a calendar, it's not done as a sort of day by day, week by week thing. It's just what's next. So we know we can see in 11 hours on the 22nd of June, we've got one appointment, which is at 9:30 and is, whatever they put in, whatever they choose to set. And you can see it's set for 22 minutes. And then of course it's grouped by day. So they can see on 1st of July, or in 9 days time, they can do that. We can view all the past appointments, and we can say when appointment is past the current now point in time, we can say, yes, I attended this one, and I attended this one. We've got a nice positive affirmation message confirming that they've been attending. So let's click on a few of those. So that's a simple check, and we can then add appointment, which is fairly simple, just a nice form for that. The key thing here is the team members can see which appointments members have visited. So they can help confirm and help members improve that attendance and discuss with them when and why they're missing appointments or what's going on that might be leading. And there's trends you can pull out of that as well in the back end. So I'm going to skip my needs and come back to that one last, because that's one of the core features that we're most proud of. So my contacts, fairly simple, just allows them to store contacts in one place. As Mel said, if they don't have access to a mobile device, if they don't have access to something that is persistent with them, this is somewhere that is stored on the web that they can access from anywhere and access these key contacts as to whoever they may be. And this is all set up however they want it to be set up. The My Journey section isn't finished yet. So this is something that once we've been demoing and sort of piloting the app for a while, we'll gather feedback from the members and ask them what is going to be really valuable to put in that section. What makes up their journey and what do they want to see in there? My Support lists all the support services that the members have access to. And this is just an index page to let them see that. These can be added and edited by the Include staff. Goals is a really fun section. So we can see a member can add short-term and long-term goals, nice and simple. So we can add a long-term goal of, say, climb Everest. And it's an aspiration. We can add that. And then very easily we can either archive or delete it if it doesn't, so we don't end up clogging up these spaces. Then we can complete. And then we get a lovely confetti animation saying, well done, that's another goal ticked off the list. And you can see as this screen is going to fill up with green, things are going to be progressing. What's On and My Voice are both sections that we're going to be adding later. So that brings us back to My Needs and the SOS button. So the SOS button is something which was a core request from Mel and her team at Include. And if a member feels like they're getting close to a particular crisis, they can click that SOS button and it will send, it's a call for help, it's an SOS. And when they do that, they can put some additional details in, select a type. If it's something where someone's in particular danger, there's confirmations and affirmations to call 999, because that's the appropriate way to deal with that sort of problem. Then at the same time, when they click submit and when they make that call for help, the Include staff will each get a text message and an email. They can view it from their side, they can add notes, and they can manage or help that member manage that crisis in whatever way is appropriate for that particular purpose. And it's all text entry fields, so people can add whatever notes, and it's customizable as much as it could be. So that's one of the core features through there. We can see on these, we can do quite easily, say, whichever section it is, and then hit request help, and something will go wrong because it's not fully implemented yet. We haven't got the emails all set up for this demo app. So that brings us nicely to a slightly more positive section of the app, the My Needs section. So this is one of the core features, and it's the well-being tracking that we're so enthusiastic about and so proud of, because for everyone and for anyone who's on any sort of journey, whether it be a desistance journey or whether it be a journey through life, keeping track and seeing progress is something that's so valuable to so many people. So on this, we can see that we have these sliders which allow people to select how they're feeling against these key 11 elements. And so depending on how things are, we can see that we've got the indicator on the right-hand side, which changes color and gives a word, as well as the segment which grows based on them. If something's particularly bad, below the sort of 50% threshold, we can see a service pops up where they can go and seek support and assistance for that particular service. And we've got the number immediately there, or we can go and click on the link and it will take us to that external page. As things go along, members can see all of these, and we can click to see all the services as well. You can see, ideally, we want members to be good. So it'll be a nice big green circle in a good situation, but on a normal day, it could be anything. And we'll just click submit. And then we can see that this is one that we've just submitted. We can see when we did it, and we can see all the details here. So that's the core of the application from the user side. And I'm just going to stop sharing the screen and switch over to the team member side of the app.
So while Phil's doing that, the reason why we built in these key features, particularly the diary, the goal tracker, is about increasing engagement and motivation. And it gives people agency. So again, rather than assessments and these goals being set by their probation officer or whoever's supporting them, it's for them. So it is their journey. They're taking it, you know, into their own control, and they have that control of, you know, what they choose to do. And I think that's why it's really important that we do put, you know, the control back to the service users, the people who are using support services, so they can shape that on their own needs. I think Mel was going to add something as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, and it's even looking at the simplicity. So I think in the very first one, when you're looking at the journal, in terms of having emojis, I mean, who doesn't know what an emoji is? And sometimes when you can't maybe perhaps articulate what you're feeling, because for many of our members, they may feel shit. Let's just put it out there. So you put that emoji in there, but they might not understand why. But actually for them, just being able to show us that straight away also gives us a really quick view of, actually, this person isn't feeling great, whatever reason. Let's pick up the phone and let's speak to them. So again, something that we talk about, instead of letting someone fall over the edge and then go, should we help them? What this will give us is a snapshot and the ability to go, before they get over that edge and get into a point of crisis, or to the point where they need to press that SOS button. That needs to be the last option. But it means that we can get to them before that happens. And also the My Voice section, I guess what Gemma mentioned there about, in terms of giving them a safe place and space to be able to really put in how they're feeling, what they think about services. We put that in there because we dare to ask the question, and we dare to want to make improvements and change and adapt the way that we function, as well as challenge perhaps other services to make this the best way that we can support people towards that more purposeful, hopeful and positive future. We dare to ask because whatever they come back with, it might be a criticism of us for something. At least it opens up that dialogue, and at least it means that we can start to make changes there and then, instead of 3 months down the line when they've fallen back over the edge, and then we go, oh, maybe we should have asked that question. And the great thing about this digital space is because it works with that intelligence that can give us that daily up-to-date, and it changes with the members and individuals themselves. We know it's real live data. And I guess in that sense, when Phil now shows you about the analytical side and the patterns, which again, I think certainly from Gem and my side as well, we are, you know, we are like little kids when it comes to this, because we are so excited about the prospect of how this can support the people that we walk alongside.
So this is the team member side of the application. You can see it's got a similar design language. It looks fairly similar, but it's got a different login screen, and there's no way of members or team members logging into the wrong one. They're very separate in terms of the data and the user management. So team members, as an admin, I can see the other team members and I can manage them. If anything goes wrong, there's a very quick way to suspend or demote from the admin privileges. And then the core application is this. So we can click in and we can very quickly see all of the active crisis events. We can then view historical closed crisis events. If we look at one particular one, We can see that here are all the notes that I was talking about previously that are organized chronologically. We can see all the timestamps are the same because this was automatically generated. Each one of these as well, you can see I've added this so I can go and edit it. And if we look at this one, we can see it's been edited. We can see this edit history. So we've got the accountability. We've got all of that there. Because crisis events are so critical, we've made sure we've maintained all of this, and team members can then close the event should that be sorted. Then we have other bits and pieces. So the tags, the wellbeing and the wellbeing management are the admin side of things, which I'll go into more detail later on if anyone requests it. But then we've got these key indexes for wellbeing assessments and journal entries and for users. So each one of these will show us all of that particular data type. So journal entries will show us all of the journals. And so we can very quickly see which user, how they were feeling, and whether it's been viewed by us. So we have this accountability for view logs as well, and when it was created. And we can go and search for all the ones where they're not feeling great. You can see that these are the most recent ones where someone's feeling shit. Or when someone's having a party, we can go and see all of the ones where someone's having a party, which is nice and simple. We can also go, if we look at all of them and the ones I haven't viewed, just filter down to those. So if I need to go and catch up, we can also search for a particular user. So Tommy Johns. So we can see all of those for that particular user where he's feeling great. Nice and simple. On wellbeing assessments, we can view all of the wellbeing assessments that have been created by users. We can then export them if there's some sort of academic or other sort of data analysis we want to do on this. When we've worked out what data analyses and what methods work, we can then look to build those into the analytics section, which is still underdeveloped. In each of these sections as well, we also have these sort of subheading stats, which give us a very quick overview of what's going on and what the current state of the overall application is. So there's been one wellbeing assessment completed in the last week, which I did earlier on. And because I recreated all the data, 1,051 in the last month. So normally this will give us a more sort of average of what's going on. And hopefully in the last week is roughly a quarter of in the last month, because that's shows a steady usage pattern. So then the key aspect here is we can view users. So I'm going to scroll to the end page and look at the user I logged in as previously, which was test user 1. And we can go, and another key thing here is we can pin these users. So for me as a team member, if there's a few particular people who I want to keep a closer eye on because they've said, I'm struggling a bit, we can pin them to the top of the page, and then we can view all the other ones underneath, and that pinned user will stay there. So if we go and look at their key page, we can see that Dallas has an active crisis, and we can see all of these key information sections that summarize their journey, and all of the aspects of their side of the application are summarized in this one page. So if we just look through it quickly section by section, we can see that they've completed a wellbeing assessment today, and they can see all of those stats that we put in earlier. If the team member is sat down with the user, the team member can create a wellbeing assessment for the user. So either to walk them through the process or to give a slightly different assessment, because obviously these scales are fairly arbitrary and everyone's reference points are different. So it's going to be beneficial for a user, we thought, to be able to see what the team member's view on how they're doing is as well, and get a different perspective on things. We can then go and view all of the wellbeing assessments. And for this particular user now, we can export them as CSV or as JSON. And we can view all of these different bits and pieces. The other cool thing is we have a separate view in here as well, which if I scroll to the bottom and click the slightly hidden button, very hidden button, it gives us a very different view on things. So we haven't included this in the core application because it relies on the differentiation between the colours to be able to identify how good something is or how weak something is. But it can give a different perspective of trends over time, based on the way the colours are changing. And you can see hotspots for green when something's particularly good, hotspots for red if something's particularly bad. But obviously it's not the most accessible feature, because in order to see the stats, you have to hover over things and so on. So we've got all of that there as well. So going back to the user's profile, underneath where we have the most recent wellbeing assessment, we have these graphs which show the wellbeing history over time for each particular statistic, as well as an average. So we can see this average over time sits in the middle. Because these are all completely randomized data, that's what we'd expect to see. And we can click through and we can see the trend for benefit to money isn't going too well, nor for housing, but we can see for sense of community, that's starting to get better. And yeah, it's generally a positive trend. So the idea is that the include member staff can discuss this with the member and see how they're doing and see what's causing these trends. So we can see for this fake person, obviously they're hitting it off. Their relationships are going very well at the moment. And you can see that there's an extremely positive trend towards the end of that. Obviously, once this has been piloted, we'll be able to refine all of these sections and make them more applicable to the way it's actually being used. We can then see upcoming and past appointments and which ones they've attended and which ones they haven't attended, as well as a summary of their most recent journal entries. Then notes, so we can add a note on the user, and we can create this and write notes. And importantly, we can let the user see these. So ideally, we want these notes to be publicly available. We want the maximum amount of transparency. But of course, there might be certain things when a team member wants to leave a note that's for other team members, maybe talking about a particular topic they discussed that might be worth bringing up next time they don't want the member to see. But we can very easily create notes, and that will add a note to the top, and we can see it's visible to the user, whereas all these other ones are not. The final section is the user tags, which is managed by team members, and we can add one from a limited list to that particular user. And this is used in the back end, so we can, there we go, for data analysis and for classification and for everything else. So these aren't visible to the user, but allow us to, when we're exporting the data, include these and filter down by people with those particular tags. So that's the core of the team member section. If anyone has any particular questions on these things, please let us know, or questions about anything we've said at all. I'm going to stop sharing and let Mel and Gemma say anything else if you want to. But if there are any questions, please let us know. It's quite a small group today, so we'll be able to answer all of them in detail. But I'll hand back over to Gemma. Gemma, you're still
yeah. It had to happen, didn't it? I say thank you, Phil, and hopefully that gives you a good sense of what we've created and why. And I think, as we discussed, it is going to be incredibly powerful for organisations, for the service users and the people supporting them, that we will be able to better identify their needs and respond to them so they do feel supported. And as Mel said, they're not going to go over that cliff edge. We can stop that, we can help them. And I think, finally, that just brings us on, you know, why collaborate? And I think from me, and Mel has already mentioned this, it's about this knowledge exchange, that we've all come together with different expertise, different backgrounds, and we've involved the people who are going to be using this. And I think that's why we have developed something that is fit for purpose, that is user-friendly, and it is hopefully going to solve or help to address, you know, the problems that we are facing in the criminal justice system. So I'll pass on to Mel, because I'm sure she'll have also something to say about the collaboration.
One of the main things about the way that we work at Include, and this underpins, I guess, for me, it underpins everything that we do, but it is about relationships. And it's about actually having that authenticity and that value in everyone's assets that they bring to the table. So with Phil, Gemma, and the teams that surround us. And when we talk about collaboration, we don't just talk about the 3 people that you see on the screen. Certainly for me, that collaboration with our members and our community, because without those people that we walk alongside, that live and breathe this journey in all of their unique ways, we wouldn't be able to use our assets in order to develop the solutions together and come back around to the prototype which we've built. It is about relationships, and all of us know that we can go with, we can tell each other, oh, actually, we're not sure that's not gonna work, and it's not going to inflate or hurt anyone's ego, which is really important when it comes to this, because many of our members who perhaps struggled with authority, what we're showing them is that you're valued, your voice is valued, what you tell us, your knowledge exchange, you are knowledge producers, and you are giving us the information that allows us to build a platform in this digital world that is actually going to come back around and hopefully support you. One of the key things, I guess, even when we're looking at the analytical sides and about collaboration, is that the amount of patterns and analytics that we can find, and actually we can support and collaborate with our external organizations and statutory, prison, probation, everyone, actually we can have this knowledge exchange. And that's again built on relationships. So our statutory partners that we work with, which are many, actually understand that the relationship that we have with our members is something they could never have. But actually we can, and that means again that this platform allows us a different way of accessing information. It allows us a different way of identifying patterns and with different cohorts, and actually be able to share that knowledge as a way to support Desistance, which again, this is what it comes back to, go back to the original slide, £45,000 per person. If we could stop that, that money could go into actually how to support community-based interventions, preventions, using the information that we've gathered. We can do that with the information that we've got here. And our knowledge exchanges, Gemma and her team have got that academia and that research knowledge behind it that will not only support us with the patterns, but will actually support the research as to how we can do things better or build back better, as they say, certainly within the COVID element. One of the other things in terms of collaboration is many of our organisations have struggled, who we collaborate with, to contact or get information or engage with the individuals that we walk alongside. This platform allows us to give them information. So it even changes the dynamic way in which other organisations within our sector are working. And that for us is again key in how not just simply this collaboration, but future, the collaboration that we can and change we can create across the sector is massive. And this is the potential that we feel that we're going to bring to the sector. So, but that all stems from the successful collaboration, because if we didn't have a great relationship, if I didn't have the relationship with those I walk alongside, we wouldn't be where we are now. So it's important that when you do collaborate, get the right people and the ones that have got the same vision to develop solutions together.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Gemma and Mel. And fantastic slides. So there are contact details if anyone does have any questions following this. You can also find further details about Include at includehub.co.uk or about our project in the Legal Innovation Lab at either legaltech.wales or for our development team, developer.legaltech.wales. But there haven't been any questions asked, so I'm going to end it there. Thank you very much for coming along, everyone.